It's the Fish House Nation podcast, and we are at the St. Paul Ice Show. I'm in the BeaverTail booth, and I'm with Andrew Gullickson from BeaverTail. Andrew, how's the show going for you so far?
Going great, Chris.
Appreciate you stopping with us and taking some time here. But for people who don't know what this BeaverTail product is, can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, definitely. So it's a meat, not a plastic. That means it's got some different properties than plastic. It stretches and pulls, it doesn't tear. Super durable also. We're getting, like on our panfish pieces, 50 to 60 fish on a piece is common because they just don't fall apart. But the movement on it is just incredible. You have to see it for sure.
Okay, well, let's take a look at it. And for our podcast listeners, they can't see what we're seeing here on video. So tell me if you can describe what we're seeing.
So what I'm going to do is, as good as I can, I'm going to start by trying to hold it still.
Okay.
And because it's a little bit neutrally buoyant, it's still going to kind of flare up and move, and it almost looks like it's breathing just holding it still. It's got a great action moving around. And you find that with a lot of plastics. There's some great plastics out there, and when you move them, they move great. But when you slow down and you kind of need to finish that fish and you stop, that plastic is now just dead. It has no life. This is still kind of like almost floating around, and I guess, breathing is about the best I can describe it. It almost looks like it breathes in the water. So I'll give it a little bit of a rip here for anybody on video, and then we'll go back to dead, and it just...
It does have a kind of a worm-like property.
Definitely.
I'd almost say you've got a darker piece here.
Yep.
It reminds me of kind of a torn-up worm, or maybe even a torn-up piece of leech is what it looks like.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got our bigger pieces, the living leech also, that look exactly like a true leech. This looks like a torn-up leech. I think it really mimics a lot of the aquatic invertebrates that are down there. So for crappie guys, this is a bait that's going to mimic those bugs in your deeper holes. As a basin chasing guide myself, that's what my fish are eating, is more bugs, and I think this mimics it better than anything out there. One thing I say about it is if you're trying to get like a dog to come to you and you got a plastic squeaky toy, you can probably get a dog over eventually. If you got a piece of steak, he's going to come running to you. I don't have steak, that'd be the bug. I've got chicken. Still better than the plastic, I argue.
Yeah. So what you say is it's meat. Your product's called BeaverTail. Is it made of BeaverTail?
It is made of BeaverTail. Yep.
So made out of BeaverTail. So you must be friends with a lot of trappers in your area.
Yeah, they come find me, and especially if they're in Wisconsin. You can always check and see if we're buying. I tend to buy tails and support those guys, and it's a product that for a long time went to waste. The tail on the beaver wasn't really, there wasn't really much market for it. It ended up just being a waste product. So it's a good way to kind of use the resource better too.
Yeah, very good. And we can't use it in the States, but I've gone bear hunting up in Canada, and they love beaver for bear bait up there. And it's something that obviously, the wild world loves to have a piece of it. The cool thing is that we've been describing this dark one we're looking at right now. We've got several colors as well. Tell me about kind of the product selection that you have.
Yep, so I've got the two sizes, the living leech that I mentioned, which is like a 3.5 to 4 inch piece, and then the 1 inch panfish bite. In the panfish bite, I've got, currently I have 6 colors, ranging from white all the way to a dark with a sparkle in it. And then I've got a selection of colors with the leech too. You can check us out. Obviously,
looks like you got some pinks up there, some purples. Looks like some chartreuse.
Yep, green, black. We pretty much hit the spectrum. There's a couple colors that have been difficult that we don't have yet, but we're working on some of those too.
Anything I didn't ask you about that you want to bring up?
Yeah. So the one kind of overlooked thing and kind of like a final thing on it is you mentioned like bear bait, and just a tail has an incredible amount of oil. It's a really unique property piece, and it's got a ton of oil in it. And you can see in our water, and in the course of 2 days in a show, just one little 1 inch piece has already kind of turned this off, and you can see and feel the oil on the top. A lot of baits, again, you dip a plastic or in a scent. This is almost literally made of the scent, so it continues to give it off even on a second day of use.
Yeah.
So really, just kind of that extra little reason why you should get some.
Very cool product. You got something else going, a little project called the Iced Up Podcast. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so we're kind of a Wisconsin flavored podcast. We always have a tip-up section, kind of focus on some of that, talk about some of the stuff we do different in Wisconsin. We get deep into tech and techniques, so we try and always highlight our guests that come on. We go into what their strengths are and what they do different. We try and get that little piece of information that they don't tell people. Not always the case, but we try to. So, and there's a lot of blackberry brandy involved.
If people want to find out more about BeaverTail Baits, where do they go?
Facebook, BeaverTail Bait, BeaverTailBait.com. I've got a lot of info there, and on Instagram as well.
But we can buy it here at the show, but can they buy it online?
Yep, BeaverTailBait.com. You can buy it on there, and also take a look around. We're starting to grow some of our stores that we're into, some of the Shield stores and stuff
Very
like
good.
that.
How about the Iced Up Podcast? Where can they find that?
You can find that on most podcasting platforms. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the big ones. I think the only one we're not on is Google Podcasts.
You do a little bit of guiding as well. If somebody wants to go fishing with Andrew Gullickson, how do they do it?
Yeah, look it up, backroadsguideservice.com. You want to come out chasing crappies. We're a run and gun style. I don't like to sit around unless you want to sit around. We try and make it a fun trip, no matter what the conditions out. We try and get you on something you haven't done, teach you a little bit of something.
Very good. It's Andrew Gullickson here at the St. Paul Ice Show. Thanks so much, Andrew.
Thanks a bunch, Chris. We'll see ya.